to Roar Healing Stories. I'm your host, Ellen Line. 2 announcements before we get started today. First, I am starting to think about season 2 of this podcast. And if you've been listening or if you're listening today and you like the vibe and you want to share your story, I would love to hear from you. There's a link in the description where you can let me know that you're interested and tell me a little bit about your story. Secondly, I'm going to be hosting 2 workshops at Anahata's Purpose later this fall in the middle of October. Anahata's Purpose is a really cool event. It's part witchy coven meeting, part music festival, and part grown-up summer camp. It's one of my favorite things that I do all year. It's super affordable. The community is immaculate, and I would love to meet you there. So if you'd like to learn more and get tickets, there's also a link for that in the description. And now let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Today, my guest is Shane Whalley. Shane, I met Shane way back when at the University of Texas at Austin, and Z was I think where we met is that you were the leader of the group that there was like a social justice action committee group, and Shane was the faculty leader for this group. And we got to know each other, and Shane, I think, was very formative for like Ellen, little baby social worker, learning how to flex her social justice muscles in the world. Shane is flexing, y'all. And so I am so excited to have Shane on the podcast today to get to talk about your healing story. Shane, tell us about yourself.
Hi, thank you. One, I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for the invitation, or for accepting my, will you please let me on, reach out, please. Yeah, so my name is Shane Whalley. My pronouns are Z, here, and here's. Old school pronouns because I'm old. So I am a white, queer, genderqueer, 64-year-old, master's in social work, human trying to navigate all that is the best I can.
I love that bio.
It's my positionality statement. My students all had the opportunity to write one, so I have one too.
Oh, I love that. Tell us about your healing journey.
Man, I think as I've been thinking about this, it's like, how far back do I go? So I'll just give maybe a little context. So I was raised in Southern Indiana in the 60s, and was raised in a religious household and by Republican parents, and was blonde and blue-eyed and pearls, right? Like the whole 9 yards. And that is not who I am now. And so there was a lot of supposed to, like, this is the way you're supposed to be and supposed to act. And I rarely wanted to do what I was supposed to do. And there was, and that was not okay. So it felt like the only emotion I was allowed was joy, like anger and sadness were not okay. And so I kind of learned how to be what I was supposed to be, and in that lost who I was.
Yeah.
I must have been about 10 years old, and my mom was washing dishes, and I went up to her and I said, I think I want to be a boy. And she said, you don't, and we will never speak of it again.
Wow.
Right. So at 34, I went to her and said, hey, remember what I told you at the sink? Right. Like, I don't want to be a boy. And at that time, I came out around my gender identity in about 1994. We didn't have any language for it. So I talked about living in the gender gray. So I tried to explain to my mom kind of what we think of as non-binary now.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did what I was supposed to do. And My parents were very strict in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
uh, and I couldn't figure out kind of how to be myself. Uh,
Mhm.
so I ended up at private religious boarding school starting in seventh grade. And if you need, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I left home when I was 12. Right,
Yeah.
I think seventh grade, we don't always put an age on that.
Yeah.
So my parents were living in Indiana and boarding school was in St. Louis, so it was about 5 hours from home.
Wow.
Um, and I was there 7th, 8th, ninth, 10th, went home for public school for 11th, and then went back my senior year to graduate with my class and my friends.
Mm.
Uh, and that allowed me to be in a strict environment where everybody was under the same level of strictness.
Mhm.
It also allowed me to be in a religious community, which for me at the time was helpful. And
Mhm.
one of the things, um, maybe a side note, right, is I'm on this passion project around hope, community, and purpose and how important they are in our lives, right? So even though private religious boarding school doesn't necessarily sound like a positive thing, right, it actually gave me hope, community, and purpose
Yeah.
for a 12-year-old, right? It
Yeah.
also was a small school, so it meant I got to be in band and play in sports and be in plays and be involved in a way that I couldn't have done in a big school.
Mm. Mhm.
So I will not tell you my entire life story. So I'll fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
I dropped out of school,
Mm.
out of college. Out of college, I was an elementary education major. I always knew I wanted to teach. I didn't. If 18-year-old me knew that 64-year-old me had taught college for 20 years, they would be like, "We did what?"
Yeah.
We taught social justice? Like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I dropped out of school, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and worked for the international headquarters of my church.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, Also hope, community, and purpose. It's
Mm.
helpful to actually put my life in that frame because I don't think I've done that yet.
Wow.
Um, and at the time, I thought I was straight, and I had signed a piece of paper when I got the job at the church saying that if I was a homosexual, I would be fired. And 2 years into working there, I fell in love with a coworker. It's not
Mm.
really a good strategy for coming out, like being at a place where you're going to be fired, falling in love with your coworker.
Oh.
Um, and we were together for 2 years without anybody finding out and keeping our jobs. But the stress of knowing that anytime we were called into the office, we didn't know we were
Yeah.
getting a promotion or getting fired. Right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I moved to California. I left my partner in Boston, tried to become a good straight girl, which
Mm.
did not pan out. Went back to college. And
Mm.
when I went back to college, I met other queer folks. I hadn't really knowingly met other queer folks because we were so in the deep in the closet, even in Boston, where there was a ton of community, we just couldn't find it.
Yeah.
But I would come out to people in tears, and
Mhm.
people would be like, "Thanks for letting me know. How are you?" Right? And I was like, "Oh, that's not how my mom responded when she found out."
Oh.
So my partner moved out to California. We were together for a total of 9 years,
Mm.
and um, we ended up moving to Ithaca, New York, and that's where I started learning all the things. It's where my blinders came off around social justice. It's where I was out and proud and got involved trying to unionize the admin workers at Cornell. And
Mhm.
right, um,
Mhm.
I went to a reading that Leslie Feinberg gave, who wrote Stone Butch Blues,
Yeah.
and was like, "Wow!" Right? Leslie came onto stage in a flat top and a suit, a double-breasted suit, and
Wow.
I was like, "Yes, yes, please," to that.
Yeah.
Read the book and cut my hair and right, and I in that moment realized how important mirrors are for us, that if we
Yeah.
can't see what is possible, it's really hard to get there. And I
Yeah.
made the decision at that time that I wanted to be a mirror for others, so I
Mm.
came out and was visible and chatty about it.
Yeah.
But I'd been on a journey with my parents around my sexual orientation, and they went from saying very uh, hurtful things to me.
Yeah.
Like my mom, when I came out, she said, "But you had so much potential." And I was like, "I didn't lose my brain. I just found out something new about myself, right?"
Yeah. Wow.
And so, but they had kind of come along. But
Mhm.
then when I found out about my gender, that
Mhm.
didn't go as well. And I
Mm.
had a loving and supportive partner, different partner. I had a loving and supportive community,
Mhm.
but anytime I talked to my parents, it was bad.
Yeah.
I was in therapy, and
Mm.
at the time, I didn't realize she was a social worker because we don't know what all those initials are. Good grief, right? I now know that she was a social worker. Um,
Yeah.
and she was just she was amazing.
Mm.
She was able to help me, like, from outward appearance, everything with my family looked good,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm.
I'm an only child, so it was just my folks and I.
Mm.
And we took family vacations, and I played clarinet from the time I was 6. Like,
Mm.
we looked idyllic on paper,
Yeah.
but that was not. I think when I in social work school, you know how you learn the list of why you would need to call CPS?
Mm. Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, I could check about 7 of those things that were true about my childhood." And
Wow.
it was about I I now think about it as benign neglect, right?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
my parents would leave me home alone while they went and did a thing, or my mom would leave me in the car when she went shopping, or right,
Wow.
it was that kind of thing. And I think my therapist said to me, once she said, "Have you ever thought of going to Al-Anon meetings?" And I was like, "My parents didn't drink. It was against our religion." And she's like, "You grew up in a dry alcoholic family." I was
Wow.
like, "Oh, I didn't know that was a I didn't know that was a thing."
Yeah.
Like, that's a thing. I did
Mm.
not go to Al-Anon meetings, but I did appreciate that framing, and I think
Yeah.
learned more about it. Again, I went through the clinical side of the social work program, so it was like, oh, checking box, right? Like checking self-awareness boxes as I went.
Yeah.
And my mental health got really bad. And I
Mm.
would have been, how old would I have been? 33, 34.
Mhm.
Um, it's like I could be myself at home, and I
Mm.
could be my work life was pretty good about who I was, but
Mm.
I couldn't sort it, and so
Mm.
I spent a lot of time planning my demise,
Mm.
um, and was fortunately honest with my therapist about that,
Mhm.
and um, she realized that part of what I was really struggling with was feeling like an outsider. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere.
Mm.
Um, and so she felt strongly that I needed to go into an inpatient program,
Yeah.
but she didn't want me to go to an inpatient program where I felt like an outsider. It's like, which is a trick.
Yeah.
And again, if you think about it, this was 1994, 1995, and I'm at the time lesbian identified and living in the gender gray identified. It's like, where do you, and I'm not, and it isn't around substance use,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And bless, as we like to say in Texas, bless her heart, she found, she found an LGBT psych ward in a private hospital in Tampa, Florida.
Wow.
And so I went right after New Year's 1995,
Mm.
got on a plane, flew flew to Florida, got picked up,
Wow.
uh, and that experience, I fortunately, I had a private hospital, had insurance.
Mhm.
And my therapist was an amazing advocate for me. So I had individual therapy probably more often than anybody does in a private psych hospital.
Wow.
Right. And I did groups. And the way the hospital was set up, there was a women's unit next door to ours with people who had dissociative disorder. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually went and did group with them too.
Oh, wow.
And I knew that I needed to do a piece of work. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the therapist did enough, right?
Yeah.
And basically, what I had to do is I had to become at peace with who I was supposed to be, who I'd
Mm,
been told by my parents I was supposed to be and had
mhm.
become
Yeah.
versus who I was. And
Yeah.
that disconnect broke me. Uh,
Yeah.
and that time in the hospital helped put it back together. And then
Mm.
my insurance company kicked me out
Mm.
before I was ready.
Mm.
No one thought I was ready except my insurance company. But I
Mm.
went home and and my therapist was able to kind of finish integration and get me kind of put back together. But um, oh, and maybe one important piece if we're thinking about things to think about on healing journeys is
Yeah.
the way that I coped before psych hospital was to stay too busy, right? Like you're always moving and busy, then you never have to deal with anything. So I worked full time. I was on 4 committees. I did a thing, right? Like constantly, like a shark, like doing
Yeah.
something still,
Yeah.
right? So at the time, I was the textbook buyer for the Cornell bookstore, and it was at the beginning of a semester, which at a bookstore at that time was the busiest time in the right. And so
Yeah.
my therapist is like, "You need to go," and I'm like, "But I have all these things."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "You can either go and be alive or stay too busy and be dead."
Mm.
She's like, "You choose."
Mm.
So I was like, "Okay." And good for me. I chose life, right? But
Yeah.
it meant I had to go to everybody and be like, I'm unplugging for my life. I was out for a month, 2 weeks at the hospital and then 2 weeks at home. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm here, and
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been if I hadn't.
Wow.
So I think one thing we don't talk enough about maybe on healing journeys is the courage that
Mm.
they take.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It isn't we don't just be like, "I wanna be better and let's go." Right? It's like to be vulnerable, to pay money, to take time, to
Yeah.
be authentic, right? Like clinicians ask a lot of people,
Yes.
right, in these journeys. So I last saw that therapist in 1997,
Mm.
but I email her once a year and let her know how I am. Um,
Oh, I
um,
love that.
yeah, and she's very good. She still keeps her good social work boundaries, so I know, she's very kind and writes me back.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to do some fun things, like it's like a weird thing to say out loud, but I was the NASW Texas Social Worker of the Year 2 years ago,
Mm.
and to get to write your therapist and be like, guess what?
Yeah.
And I think she was such a great role model, right, for me. One of the things she said to me, which I always share with my students,
Mm.
is I was going through a particularly bad time,
Mm.
and like I know that you are having a hard time being hopeful or feeling hope. She
Mhm.
said, "So I'm going to hold hope for you until you can hold it for yourself."
Mm.
Right? And I
Yeah.
remember at some point in the future going to her and being like, I can take that hope back now. Like,
Yeah.
got it. Right. So um yeah. Um so I think that's, it's not like I was 100% and I tied a bow on my head and everything's been good since then. Like that's not
Yeah.
the way it works.
Yeah.
But I like that took me from not being able to be a full embodied authentic human to
Yeah.
being able to be a full embodied authentic human,
Yeah.
um, which then makes the work easier right
Yeah.
from there. But and I didn't realize how scarily it felt like I was, but I wasn't. And so yeah, so that's the I think, and there's so much we still live in a society, there's so much shame about inpatient work,
Yeah.
right? And I always tell the story in the classes that I teach because and I was a therapist for not very long, maybe 3 years when I got out of grad school. Um, and if I had a client who was in a really bad place, right, like professional use of self, I would tell that story because
Mm.
I think if you look at me and you know kind of public Shane Whalley,
Mhm.
you wouldn't know that that was part of public Shane Whalley's story. So
Yeah.
I really like to kind of demystify the fact that it's okay, right? It's okay. It's okay. That's
Okay.
probably
Yeah.
one of the hardest things I've ever done,
Yeah.
and oh, and okay.
Yeah. 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 Both of those things get to be true, right? Like
Yeah,
that it was. Yeah, and I think when you were talking about how it's so we ask so much, like the clinicians, the healers ask so much of folks. I am honest with folks when they start therapy, like this is going to be some of the hardest work you ever do.
mhm,
Um, and like, yeah, learning how to feel your feelings and learning how to not be overcome and learning how to integrate across all of these different parts of yourself. Like it's so hard. Um,
yeah. I mean, we call it work for a reason. We don't call it
yeah,
the playfulness, right?
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can be grateful if at times it is playful, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I often, um, oh, I might get in trouble for this, but that's okay. I'm going to say it anyway. I
Say it.
really think it's important for people who are therapists to have been in therapy.
Yeah.
Right, like, if you've never been on the other side of it, you have no idea what you're asking of your clients,
Yeah.
right? And you need to have an understanding kind
Yeah.
of from the other side because, yeah, you're at right?
Mm.
We're asking people if therapy is gonna, be effective, right?
Mhm.
And we're asking people to be incredibly vulnerable with us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I have really appreciated about like I feel like you are like some of these parts of your story I was like, "Oh, I remember I saw a post about that
Yeah,
on Facebook,"
yeah,
right? Like I feel like you do a really beautiful job of like bringing that vulnerability to your work and like bringing that vulnerability like you said, being that mirror,
yeah,
right? Like letting folks see themselves in you and kind of showing that, like, hey, you can go to inpatient and you don't have to be embarrassed about it. Like,
right,
it was a
yeah.
vital part of my journey. Yeah.
Right, and I don't tell all of that right? Very few people know all of that story,
Mm.
right? But the parts that feel important, right, I share.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure I always try to remember to do this when I am telling stories about my mom in particular, because my mom had a great willingness, which is part of my healing journey,
Mm.
to journey with me.
Wow.
So, fast forward to grad school, and I have received different awards for different things.
Yeah.
And my mom at one point, right, we go back to that like, oh, but you had such much potential, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many years later, tw-
Yeah.
20 years, almost 30 years later, probably.
Mm.
She said to me, she said, Shane, she said, you have become successful because of who you are, not in spite of who you are. And
Wow.
I was like, "That's right." And
Mm.
the joke in my family was I asked my parents at some point, like, why they gave me lessons in every single thing, right? I took lessons in every single thing. And they said, well, we wanted to make sure that if there was something you were going to be outstanding in, that you would have the opportunity to find it. My
Wow.
dad, who was not a kind man, said, uh, but we didn't find anything. Um, um, so he, uh, so when my mom said that to me, I said, yeah, I said, just think if you'd let me be a lesbian sooner. I said, that's the thing I'm outstanding at, and you wouldn't let me try that younger. And she
Mm.
laughed and then said, oh, Shane.
Uh, I I love that moment though. I feel like
Yeah,
so many of us want those like redeeming moments
yeah,
in our healing journey, especially with our parents, and not everybody gets them.
no.
Uh,
Yeah, I worked really hard with my mom.
yeah.
Um, so part of that healing journey, which would be important probably in this moment, is when I went into the psych hospital, I called my parents
Mhm.
and I told them that I was going to break off contact. And so I didn't have any contact with my parents for a year and a half.
Wow.
And they could write letters if they wanted to, and I would take those letters to a therapist's office, right, and read them, and
Yeah.
either be like, "Whoo," or tears and sobbing. We never know when you open the letter which direction it was going to be, or both, or all of it.
All of it.
And then my grandmother fell and broke her hip, and they needed me to come and help
Mm.
in a good way, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of broke the silence, and I was able to kind of have honest conversations with them about what had happened and where I was and what that journey had been. But
Mm.
that time
Mm.
meant that they also had to choose to do work or not.
Mhm.
And so they did, my mom in particular, uh,
Mhm.
did work. And work for her meant like letting people know that who I was.
Mhm.
Right? And her biggest fear was that she would be judged for who I am.
Wow.
Right. Like that if she told church people that, you know, she had a queer daughter, what would that mean?
Mhm.
And what happened when she did it was people were like, oh yeah, our Bobby is gay, or our Aunt Susie is a lesbian, or um like we've met Shane. Like Shane brought the same woman for 8 years to church every Christmas. Like, hello. Um, and so I think,
Mm.
we talk in social work, we talk a lot about unconditional positive regard.
Yeah.
And that's what my mom received when she came out as as the mom of a queer person.
Yeah.
And so by the time I re-engaged with her, she had, she had done her work her way. And
Yeah.
so we were able to kind of meet and have conversations. And she ended up, my mom was a professional knitter.
Ooh,
My mom knit for money.
love
And
that.
she started knitting rainbow stuff. So she would knit rainbow, back when you couldn't get knitted, right, kind of knitted stuff. And her website before she died was rainbowknits.com, and she sold at craft fairs, right? So I think
Wow.
one of the things is somebody who has gotten to talk to a lot of young people on their coming out journey and helping them navigate coming out to their families. I
Yeah.
think we so desperately want our parents to meet us where we are.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned that we have to meet parents. Somebody has to meet parents where they are. We
Yeah.
don't always have to be the ones, right? Like I could be like, hell no, you're out until you can meet me where I am. But
Yeah.
somebody has to be able to meet those parents and be like, you know, it's okay. Here's some materials.
Yeah.
Nothing you did. If anything, there are things you did right that allowed your child to be themselves, right? Which is
Yeah.
what blows parents' minds. Um,
Yeah.
but I think our individual healing journeys are never just our journeys, right?
Mm,
Like my partner who was with me and stayed with me through and helped fund all of that,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
It was an amazing human who also needed support and right support and care through what was going on with me.
Yeah.
So I think to think that healing journeys are an isolated thing,
Mm,
so not true.
yeah. Yeah. No. And I think it's really beautiful when whether it's family or chosen family, people can kind of like join us along our way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, when my suicidality was really high,
Mhm.
and that was not the experience of my partner. She's a very upbeat, glass three quarters full kind of human, and I'm a glass one quarter full kind of human. And she really struggled with what was going on with me. And so I could talk to her, and she would be loving and compassionate and listen,
Mhm.
but she didn't get it.
Yeah.
And so I had to find humans in my life who'd been on a similar journey. So when I said, I feel like I'm sitting in the bottom of a dark hole that's filling up with water,
Mhm.
they could be like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
right, here's a
Yeah.
snorkel. Like you can do it.
Yeah.
I think my partner desperately wanted to do the right thing, but I couldn't I didn't trust
Mm.
to get it.
Mm. Yeah.
I knew she knew I was hurting, but that she couldn't kind of be in that hurt with me. And
Mm.
I needed people who had felt as close to that type of pain as
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
And I think that's also scary to be right to one to reach out to be like, hey, have you ever been in a dark hole filling with water? Right? Like, but such a gift when people can say yes and
Mhm.
not just, I think, be like, and you can do it. I think that like false cheeriness of like, go works really well for some people, but if it doesn't work for people, we gotta do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We can't tie a bow on people's pain. We can't tie a bow on people's pain.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
And we desperately want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's human nature to want to and to fix it.
Yeah.
But I know for me that if people do that with me, so well intentioned,
Mhm.
like it causes me to
Pull
pull
back.
in, shut down, act out, like
Mhm.
any number of
Yeah.
things, depending on how safe I am with that person.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah. 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 Well, and I wonder, like, I feel like some of that too is a cultural thing, right? Like, here, our culture is so like emotions phobic, right? That it's
right,
like, oh, you're having a hard time. Cool, cool. Go talk to your therapist about
right,
that. You
right.
know?
Right. And that I think, well, I won't say we, I'll use an I statement like I was trained to. I have an easier time with some emotions than others. So one of
Mhm.
the things my therapist helped me with is I can be quick to be angry,
Mm,
but I often then have to stop and say, am I angry or am I sad?
yeah.
Because it was not okay to be sad in my house. And so anger, like low level anger was
Mhm.
more tolerated.
Yeah.
Um, but I think, to figure out on our journeys
Mhm.
what our emotions actually are,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Yeah.
because we code switch, I think, to use right language that we use our
Yeah.
emotions to be what they need to be, kind of contextually to be accepted.
Yeah.
But the wrong emotion isn't healing.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like that anger doesn't take care of the sadness,
No.
just helps release something.
Yeah. Yeah. The sadness is still there waiting to be felt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's cathartic, maybe, but it's not healing.
Hmm. Hmm. I don't, I don't know if I've thought about I what am I trying to say? Um,
I know, I think of them as synonymous. So as I said it,
yeah,
I'm like, is this going to make any sense to people? Right. That it
yeah,
makes you feel better in the
yeah,
short term, but it
yeah,
does not take care of it in the long term. And
yeah,
so that's what I mean by that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. There can be a little bit of that emotional release that we get in catharsis,
Right.
but
But
the
the
underlying
wound
feeling,
still
yeah,
there.
the wound is still there. Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
love that we're both patting our hearts, like anybody can see us doing that. We're like we're patting our wounds, but no one can see it. So I'll just name it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm, yeah. I'm really curious to hear more about I think there's a lot of tendency to or maybe it's like kind of become popular in like social media or like online spaces to be like, oh, your parents, they're just bigots, like
Mm.
write them off, don't try, you should surround yourself with people who are affirming and supportive. And like, yes, 100%. And if that's what you need, like, please do. And at the same time, I think there can be value in once you've maybe done enough of your own work, which it sounds like that was part of your journey, being able to then come back to your parents and say, hey, here's what's going on with me. Let me help you understand me.
Mm.
Right. I'm curious to hear more about what that process or journey looked like or how that relationship like evolved and unfolded with them. And if there are more like moments that felt healing, I'd love to hear about that.
I think again, journey's very different with
Yeah.
my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
I think it's funny sometimes my people are like, did you have a dad? And I'm like, I did. I just I had a I had a dad who was yeah, who wasn't capable. I don't think I think he was possibly willing but not capable,
Mm,
right, of doing the work.
yeah.
Where I think is being an only child,
Mhm.
I was always my mom's best friend. And
Mm,
so in order to keep her best friend and for me to keep my mom, right, we were able to do some of that work. And
yeah.
I think both of us had a hard time with my dad. So, right.
Yeah.
So my parents were married for 47 years and wasn't always fun or gentle. So I think, yeah, I mean, I credit my relationship with my mom a lot for the work I do around difficult dialogue and staying in communication with people. Like she was kind of my first test case, right? And how you do that. And
Yeah.
I think I just figured out ways to help flip the script for her a bit. The
Mhm.
first story would be my first partner and I were going to go for probably Christmas to
Mm,
my parents' house,
mhm.
my parents' apartment. So my parents at the time were living in a one-bedroom apartment,
Oh,
and we were staying with them because nobody had money, right?
yeah.
So I was talking to my mom on the phone, and she said, um, "Oh, when you come, you and Sue will take our bedroom, and Dad and I will sleep on the couch." And I
Mhm.
was like, right. I was like, "Oh, how sweet." And
Yeah.
then she said, "And we don't wanna see any physical affection between the 2 of you."
Oh,
Right. So I realized that the reason she was giving us the bedroom was to kind of lock us away.
oh, yeah.
And so I was like, "Humph," and that was the end of that phone call.
Mm,
My this is pre-cell, right? This is
mm,
landline, right?
yeah.
So pre-cell phone. So there was no texting or emailing. If we didn't talk by phone, we weren't in communication.
Mm,
So I didn't call her back right away. And so she called me and she's like, she said, "You seem like you're mad at me."
mm,
I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Can you tell me why?" I'm like, "Yes." Uh, and I said that no physical affection thing. I said that's not okay. I
Mhm.
said, you and dad are affectionate in front of us.
Mhm.
And she's like, we're not. I'm like, you are. I said, you hold hands. My parents were affectionate people. I
Yeah.
said, you hug. I said, you kiss goodbye. I
Mhm.
said, all I'm asking is that Sue and I get to do in front of you anything that you get to do in front of us.
Mhm.
And she was like, and I promise we're not going to egg each other on. So those became the house, right? Those became the house rules.
Yeah.
So when my dad died before my mom did, I was, flew home to be with her. And I was like,
Mhm.
we need to take the death certificate to the Social Security office. I said, you'll get more money.
Mhm.
She's like, I don't think that's true. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. So finally got her in the card, death certificate off Social Security office. Guess what? Got more money.
Mhm.
She's like, how did you know that? And this was pre-marriage equality. And
Mhm.
I had been with my partner a long time,
Yeah.
12 years. And I said, because if something happened to my partner or I, it wouldn't happen for us.
Oh, yeah.
And she, like, you could watch the light bulb like come on.
Mhm.
And that changed her mind. She'd been on the fence about marriage equality.
Mhm.
And that she was like, that's not right. And I'm like, that's
Mhm.
right. That's not right. I said, here, here's the list of all the things that don't happen if you're not legally married.
Mm.
Um, and so I've just been able to, oh, this is the third in the stories.
Yeah.
So she had a picture of we'd given her a picture of us, right, for a holiday. And I
Yeah.
asked her, I was like, did you put that picture of my partner and I up in your office?
Mhm.
And she's like, oh, well, people don't talk about that at work. And I said, you don't know who has kids and who's married and how many kids they have and where they went on their last vacation. And she's like, of course we do. And I said, oh, so you talk about that. She's like, I'll take the picture. Right? So I think humanizing these stories
Yeah.
has been the thing, right, for me to. And again, there's a vulnerability that has to happen,
Right.
right?
Right.
She was she'd knit, she'd been at a crafts fair with her rainbow stuff, and
Mhm.
she called me. She's like, yeah, these two lovely men came and sat with me for the longest time and
Oh.
chatted with me, and they bought some of this stuff. And I said, oh, were they gay?
Uh-huh.
And she was like, well, I couldn't ask because I wouldn't want to offend them if I was wrong. And I said, yeah. I said, when people think I'm straight, I get so mad. And she was like, I'll ask next time. Right. So it's like holding a mirror. It's like holding a reverse mirror up for people.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think if she saw me be happier,
Yeah.
be more embodied, like she
Yeah.
could see it.
Yeah.
And she, which is often true with parenting, like she had grown up with a really strict mom and she'd had to abide by a bunch of stuff. And when
Mhm.
she got her freedom from that,
Mhm.
right. So I think it just happens. And I think with my dad, so when I got out of the hospital and had that first meal with him when my grandmother broke her hip,
Mhm.
my dad had been really hard on me as a kid, like called me lazy and flat-footed and was just hard on me, called me a failed tomboy. Um, so my mom would always be like, you need to spend time with your dad. And I'm like, I don't. And she's like, yes, yes, you do. So I went to lunch with him, was telling him about my experience. And I said, Dad, I said, you were really, really hard on me as a kid.
Mhm.
And he said, well, I didn't want to give you any false expectations
Mhm.
for what you were capable of. And yeah, I appreciate the eye roll. For people who can't see it, there was a very appropriate, like, what the fuck kind of eye roll. Yeah. So I said back to him, I said, I think it's a father's duty to give their child every false expectation.
Mm.
They'll try harder,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because I stopped myself from doing things, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, I disagree. And I
Mm.
was like, cool. And
Mhm.
how about that football? Right. So I think we also have to listen to the signals
Yeah.
and in when there's room to lean, and then to kind of wall ourselves off and protect the heck out of ourselves when we have to. So I don't want anybody to be like, oh, we all can do loving work with our parents. Like,
Yeah.
healing work is a dynamic two-way thing. And
Yeah.
if the other person isn't willing to dance,
Yeah.
then you find a new partner. And so
Yeah.
my mom was very willing to dance, and my
Yeah.
dad was not. And so I spent a lot of time and energy with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Was she perfect? She was not.
Yeah.
And right.
Yeah.
Uh, but my dad just wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah. 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 And so there's like a little bit of discernment for us as we're on our journey of like who can heal with me and who do I need to like cut off or limit my interaction with?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or who, right. My dad just got a very surface version of me,
Yeah.
right? Where my mom got a depth version of me.
Yeah.
And I had practice doing the shallow end of the pool.
Yeah.
And so it was easy, it was disappointing and possible to join, right? Like you have to, you know, we say it too often, but you have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And then you get to part of my healing journey,
Mhm.
still a work in progress,
Yeah.
is to grieve
Mhm.
what you didn't get,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So my relationship with my dad is still something that is hard for me
Yeah.
because I think I searched for a really long time to try to get the things I wanted and needed that
Mm.
I that he was incapable of doing, right?
Ah,
And I think a kid does not understand that a parent is incapable of doing,
yes.
right? And as an adult, I don't like it. But
Mhm.
then I've also, I think, been more reflective since he's passed away
Mhm.
on why that was,
Yeah.
right? So I know some about his family dynamics,
Mhm.
right? That make that like, you know, my one of the things that my therapist asked me on that journey was she asked me what I wanted.
Mm.
And I couldn't answer that. Like, I don't think I'd ever been asked what
Wow.
I wanted,
Wow.
what I needed,
Yeah.
right? Which is a little different. But I wasn't really allowed to want. Like, that wasn't something I was allowed.
Yeah.
So, you know, so if people don't have context or muscles or frames for things,
Yeah.
right? They can't they can't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean I still don't get pissed at him,
Yeah. 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 And that anger deserves space. It's just
right? I
space
also
to get.
yeah,
It's not
I
wait.
think it can also be healing when you can watch somebody else do something that with someone that you couldn't,
Mm.
right? So, God, all the bad dad stories today. When I was working at Cornell, my parents had come to visit me, and people often asked my parents why they only had one child. I
Mm.
don't understand. I think only children are not as rare now, probably, as they were when I was little.
Yeah.
And my dad, from the time I was little, this was his answer. He said, when we had Shane, we were going for quality, not quantity. But as Shane grew, we realized we achieved neither. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm now in my 30s. I'm
Mhm.
working at a bookstore. They are meeting my boss's boss,
Uh-huh.
who asked my dad, oh, why did you only have one child?
Mhm.
And he said that to my boss's boss.
Woof.
Who is very religious, and I was very I was on a megaphone all over that campus doing one thing or another. And yet I was good at my work and I'd gained his respect.
Mm. Yeah.
Without missing a beat, he turned to my dad and said, well, that's interesting. That's not at all my experience of your daughter.
Mm. Wow.
And that's how the healing happened,
Yeah.
right? Like, I couldn't do the healing with my dad, but
Yeah.
I could have healing moments about my dad when other people could hold him accountable.
Yeah. Mm.
He was not a person I expected that from, that person in my office was not the person I would have expected that experience to happen with. So I
Yeah.
think the other thing is we can't count people out, right? Like right now, I think we're in this time period where if we know people's identities, right, we either bring them in or shut them out without context or information around that.
Yeah.
Um, and that isn't help. That isn't helpful. Like people can surprise, people can kind of quote unquote surprise us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's like a space holding for imperfection and a space holding to be surprised that I think sometimes gets lost when we're too quick to like cut people off or cut people out.
Right. 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 And I do think it's fair to hold distance until trust is built. Like I'm not just going to be like, I love you. I'm going to
Right.
be like, I might love you, but let's dance a little.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like dancing as a metaphor. I like dancing as a metaphor because I think there's a lot to dance that we
Yeah.
don't that works well, right, in these
Yeah.
kinds of things. So
Yeah. Yeah, no. I agree. And it's like, yeah, you can be selective about your dance partners, but also like maybe you're missing out on a really incredible partner.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the person who looks the least kind of physically appealing,
Mhm.
right, might actually be the best dancer in the hall.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna like count somebody out because they're don't look right, you
Yeah.
might miss out on like an amazing, right, on an amazing dance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the hot guy might suck.
He might. He probably does.
I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I wanted to ask a little bit more about you mentioned briefly earlier hope, community, and purpose. And I would love to hear more about like how did you arrive at those three things? How has that been interwoven into your journey if you want to share, or if you just want to share more about what those three mean to you? That
I
would be
think I teach introduction to social work and social welfare,
yeah.
and I think we kind of do area of practice toward the end of the semester. And
Yeah.
I think both in talking about mental health and talking about substance use and talking about people experiencing homelessness, like so many of the things, areas of practice for social work
Yeah.
is the three things that, so I end up saying to my class a lot, like, hey, did we notice the three elements that would really be helpful are
Yeah.
hope, community, and purpose? So I
Yeah.
think after saying that for I don't know how many years, I was like, oh my gosh, like I like let me in my kind of consulting work and my speaking work, and now again in a class building way,
Yeah.
um, get to talk about it, right? Because if
Yeah.
we can't be isolated,
Yeah.
like if COVID taught us anything, right, it taught us that isolation is terrible,
Yeah.
right? If I don't have a reason to get up and get out of bed every morning,
Mhm.
right? And purpose doesn't have to be grand.
Mm.
My cats need to be fed,
Mhm.
which means I have a purpose and reason, right, to get out of bed. I have my grandmother had a dog all my growing up, and
Mhm.
she had that dog to torment me. That was one of the reasons she had the dog.
Oh.
Her and I usually didn't like each other. They could smell the cat person on me.
Oh.
But it got her outside and walking, which meant that people stopped and talked to her,
Yeah.
right? So, um, and then hope is just, I think hope is often the least visible of the three,
Mhm.
but probably the most important,
Yeah.
right? Because if we, and I think, in the moment we're in politically,
Mm.
right, hope can feel hard to come by. Um, but again, we don't have to be hopeful about everything.
Yeah.
Right, we have to have things that we can find and hold hope about.
Yeah.
Right, like I can be hopeful that there is going to be a better future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think oftentimes people who lead with hope, like I've overly ambitiously hopeful people in my life, I don't necessarily trust. Um, right, so it's like I'm not a fan of false hope.
Yeah.
Right, like, "It's all gonna be fine." I'm like, "It's burning to the ground, my friend." Like, I don't think so. Um, but I do think that, kind of genuine hope or things that keep
Mhm.
us moving forward.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, and there has to be some kind of there's kind of some kind of magical beaker balance chemistry of it that I haven't quite sorted. So, yeah, that's kind of where it comes from is I keep saying it in class. It was
Mhm.
like, "Oh," and then I've had to stop and check in with myself about
Mhm.
where I am in those 3 things because I think sometimes I'm, I'm better like I've driven a very and I hate this phrase, but I'm gonna say it anyway, had a very purpose-driven life, right? But it wasn't conscious.
Yeah.
But if I think about those 3 things, I'm like, "Oh, purpose is strong,"
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
community varies.
Yeah.
Like Adrienne Murray Brown in the book Emergency Strategies talks about starlings when they do the murations, right? And they fly in
Mhm.
clouds. And she talks about the fact that the way they can do that is each starling has 5 starlings that they watch out for. So they
Oh,
don't have to watch out for everybody. They just have to watch out to the 5 closest starlings, and then those 5 do others, and then they don't bump into each other.
wow.
And so I really encourage people to think about who are their 5 starlings, right?
Mm.
Like, do you have 5 people
Yeah.
who will show up, right? Friend of
Yeah.
mine's house got hit by a tornado 3 years ago.
Oh,
Right, and the starling showed up
yeah.
with a place to stay, with
Yeah.
Whataburger, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if if we I don't know that you always have to have 5, right? But
Mhm.
I think you have to have 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, it's like, how do we just check in with ourselves
Mhm.
a about those 3 things to make sure that we've got some balance, that we've got reasons to move forward.
Yeah. Mm.
And 5 social, media, followers don't count,
No. No. It's
nor do 5 pets.
good. Yeah, it's gotta be some, like, real human
Right, right,
relationships.
right, and it's for
Yeah.
me, it's both people I am willing to be vulnerable with and people who are willing to be vulnerable with me, so there's
Yeah.
that kind of mutuality piece
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah. Mm. I love that. Yeah. Tell us since we're already kind of talking about it a little bit, tell us a little bit more about your work.
My work.
Yeah.
The work.
The
All
work.
the capital letters. Yeah. So again, I I'm a I'm a professor, but I don't consider myself an academic,
Mm.
right? Like I teach very much from um a practical lens, right? Like this information hopefully is information people are going to use and
Mhm.
it's going to move them forward and it's going to move all of us forward.
Yes.
And then I have a little consulting business, and when I say little, staff meeting is me and my cats, um, called Daring Dialogues Consulting.
Mm.
Um, and I talk about cultural humility, I
Yeah.
talk about social justice frameworks, I
Mm.
talk about all things LGBTQIA+.
Yeah.
And then there are 2 things that I'm, uh particularly interested in talking about right now, but it's like trying to figure out how to frame it so people will invite me and pay me to come and talk, right? Uh,
Yeah.
to do so one is the hope, community, and purpose. Is like
Mhm.
how do we build that as people? How do we build that as organizations? Because organizations need it too. I think
Yeah.
especially when funding is scary for so many nonprofits right now.
Yeah.
The other, so, and then the other thing I'm just like, it's my thing at the moment is we have to be able to dream forward. If
Ugh.
we can't dream what we want, we will never get it. So I go back to that question that my therapist asked me, like, what do you want? And I was like, I'm allowed to want? Like, what?
Mm. Yeah.
Right? So how do we we're in this moment in time, and there are a lot of reasons for this that we're like, well, I don't want this, and I don't want this, I don't want this. It's like, great, I know all the things you don't want, but
Yeah.
I can't get you a present because I don't know what you want, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I can give you bags with things that say, this isn't sauerkraut and this isn't liver, but
Yeah.
I can't give you a piece of chocolate cake because you didn't tell me that's what you wanted. So
Yeah.
I think on a social justice level,
Mhm.
and how do we do it? Like, yes, I want world peace, but like, no, let's be specific. What does world peace for you look like?
Yeah.
Because if we can't say what it is and if we say equality for all,
Mm.
it's like, yeah, but what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I started this kind of dreaming forward thing when I was working um, for a school district in the equity office. And I would ask audiences miracle question, right? So if we woke up tomorrow and
Mhm.
our school district was equitable, what
Mhm.
are the first things we would notice?
Mm.
And people would say things like, oh, we would have more children of color in gifted and talented classes.
Wow.
I'm like, nope. We would have no gifted and talented classes because we know that all children are gifted and talented and our curriculum would be built that way.
Wow.
Right? It's like, how do we dream big,
Yeah.
right? But forward. Or they would say, oh, we'd have more ethnic studies classes. And I'm like, nope, all built into right? Like all built into the curriculum. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want bigger, better band aids,
Right.
world without wounds, that we don't need the band aids.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to be in those, right? I want to be helping to facilitate those conversations.
Yeah.
Because if we know what we want, we
Mhm.
can then back plan. If we
Yeah.
don't know what we want, we're just planning in circles and we're not getting we do a lot of swirling,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
again, that kind of hope, community, and purpose then gets right built up into that planning for the future of what we want.
Yeah. Mm.
So that's what I do.
Just in a small little nutshell. Oh, you do amazing work, Shane.
Thank you.
Hmm. How would you like to, if folks want to connect with you after this conversation, what are some of the best ways for them to do that?
Yes. So my website is my full name. So www.shanewhalley.com. You
Mhm.
can find um, I'm going to say that my cat built my website. Maybe that will be the reason it's not the best. It's functional and serviceable.
Yeah.
Um, My Gmail address is also www.shanewhalley@gmail. I mean, there's no www on my website on that.
Mhm.
It's shanewhalley@gmail.com.
Uh-huh.
So people can feel free to look me up, or reach out. The
Mhm.
other thing is my name is not super common.
Mhm.
So if you Google me, I'm not the drift racer from Michigan. I don't do car drift racing, and I'm not the weight loss guru on TikTok, but
Mhm.
I am the other Shane Whalley.
One of the three Shane Walleys.
Right. Yeah. I'm the oldest of the Shane Walleys, so the grayest headed of the Shane Walleys. Yeah. I'm also the only one with an F on my birth certificate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There used to be, I haven't heard about him recently. There used to be a very bad boy soccer player in Britain who was Shane Whalley,
Oh.
who's often in jail. I'm like, that is also not me.
And I will, of course, put links to all of those places in the show notes.
Great.
Yeah. Shane, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and chatting with me and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you. I so enjoy it always. Yeah.
Mm. Hello, this is Outro Ellen. Thanks so much for listening today. If you're interested in hearing more healing stories, please subscribe on the platform where you're listening or join my newsletter, Find Your Fierce, on Substack. If you subscribe on Substack, you'll get an email every time I publish an episode, so you'll never miss one. The link to Substack is in the episode description. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can head over to Find Your Fears and join as a monthly, annual, or founding subscriber. Paid subscribers make it possible for these stories to be shared far and wide, and you'll get access to bonus letters, episodes, and events that are just for subscribers. If you want to go above and beyond, please leave us a rating or a review on the platform where you're listening, or share this episode with a friend, frenemy, lover, family member, boss, colleague, or someone who needs it. I'm sending you the love and peace you need to be your best self today and every day. Audio hugs. Bye.